Happy Father's Day again to everyone. On this Father's Day, let's proclaim our love to Jesus. So we'll sing the song, There's a Name I Love to Hear.
Happy Father's Day. I wish myself and all the fathers assembled here. There is a unique way in which a father carries a child on his shoulders. The father loves it, the kids enjoys it. I see this, there are two reasons why this happens. Reason number one, the father wants the child to look far beyond what he can see. Reason number two, the father wants the child to rise up at least one step above what he has achieved in his lifetime. Good enough reasons to carry on the shoulder? Yes. Great. And for this, the child to rise up, he needs a strong foundation, which is called the family. And for this family, the role of the father is so important and influential. It could be called the cornerstone of this foundation. Anyone can become a father, but it takes a real man to become a dad, to nurture the child, to rise above and beyond. Brothers and sisters, let's bow our heads in prayer. The words of my mouth and this meditation of our hearts be pleasing in your sight, Lord, our rock, our redeemer.
Amen.
The father's role is very important, influential in four aspects. One is he has to provide for the material needs. He brings food to the table, clothing on the shoulders, and roof over the head. Food, clothing, and shelter, the basic needs. The father is responsible to provide for it. The second one is the intellectual needs, knowledge and wisdom. He has to provide for their education. He has to support their education right through until they could stand on themselves, or at least they become parents, and sometimes even beyond. And third one is social needs. He has to be a responsible citizen. He has a duty to do to the society. And the fourth one is the spiritual needs. He has to meet the spiritual needs of a child. And for all this, the child needs some emotional support. He needs the father to be there, so that as the child nurtures in these four dimensions, he has the support, he has the encouragement. And when he deviates, he has the punishments, if we call them that way. And then he needs the discipline so that he can grow in all these four dimensions equally. From the Bible, I'm going to look at one earthly father who was able to do that. Let's go to Genesis, the first patriarch, Abraham. This is Abraham, not Abraham yet. And chapter 11, verses 27. This is the account of Terah. Terah is the father of Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot, the child. The child we are going to see is Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans in the land of his birth. So, unfortunate child, Lot, his dad Haran dies, and now Abraham, still to be called Abraham, or still to get a child, now rises up to the occasion. He volunteers, and then he takes care of Lot. He says, I'm there now. And then here comes the first precedence of grandparents stepping in to play the role of parents. Terah took his son Abraham, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and then they moved from Ur to Canaan, but they settled down in Haran. See, this was an exception, grandparents taking the role of the parents, but somehow it became a rule nowadays. Parents, the father, he is a teacher, he is a coach, he is a mentor, he is a role model, he is an example of success, and more importantly, he is the force which constantly drives the child to succeed. Well, again, one step beyond. We have seen we have to fight against spiritual forces, and the only force that is in a key position, is an advantage position to fight those heavenly forces of evil, is the force called the Father. And his presence with the child is he is at the best position to fight against the forces that could attack the child. Now let's see in this life of Lot how Abraham, though not his biological father, was able to play the role of a father. First one, material needs. Moving along, we see in chapter 13, now Lot, was moving about with Abraham, also had flocks. This is verse 5 of chapter 13. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abraham, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. Lot has earned a lot of material. Moving about with Abraham, he was able to guide him, and now he can stand on his foot by himself. He no longer needs Abraham. And it says, their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. So this is the material needs. Abraham has provided for the material needs, and in a way that he can sustain himself. The social need. Now comes the problem. Abraham's herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen, they fight, as often happens. When there are too much of positions, we get into fights. And now Abraham decides to put in the social guidance. He said, okay, you go your way, I go my way. And he's very confident that Lot can sustain himself because he has groomed him well. And therefore they go there, and he shows his social guidance to them. In chapter 14, we see Abraham's emotional support, his strength, and all his courage. What happens after Lot goes to Sodom and Gomorrah? He picks the land of Sodom and Gomorrah to go and live there. Years roll by, the 4 kings near Sodom and Gomorrah attack Sodom and Gomorrah and take Lot and all his possessions away. So somebody comes, and one who has escaped comes and tells Abraham that Lot has been taken. Now here comes the real father, the true father. He summons his courage. He knows that he can't go and fight the 4 kings alone. So he gets the help of other 4 kings who are nearby, and goes and fights all those kings, redeems Lot, and comes back. A real father, a true father who shows courage, a true father who shows his strength, and accepts that he doesn't have enough strength and gets strength. He gets everything that he can and goes and redeems his son Lot with all his possessions. That was a great example of a father, not only providing for social needs, he also has the providing for the material needs, he also has the social connections, and he summons all his strength and goes and exhibits strength, courage, and provides the necessary support so that Lot can be redeemed. Oftentimes, this is the most important thing that we have to do. Child is often abducted, though we blame it for many reasons. There are many cases where we have to summon our strength, leave everything behind, go and redeem our children from wherever they are, for whatever reason they were there. And on the way back, he meets Melchizedek. So in this chapter, he meets Melchizedek, and then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of the God Most High. And he blessed Abraham, saying, "Blessed be Abraham by God's Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." And then comes the important act which Abraham displays so that Lot can see. Then Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. So he goes, redeems Lot, gets back all the plunder. Now he goes to God, Melchizedek, the high priest, and tithes 10%. Is it not a good example of a spiritual father who provides for the spiritual needs? Read further. Then the king of Sodom said to Abraham, "Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself." Now this king of Sodom, who was also taken into captivity, tells to Abraham, "It is all yours. You redeemed it. You can have all the possessions. Just give me my people." Now what Abraham said? I have raised my hand to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and have taken an oath that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or a thong of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, "I made Abraham rich." So even more than the tithe that Abraham provided married to Melchizedek, here is the spiritual role modelship. He said, I don't want to be known as King of Sodom and Gomorrah made me rich. Who makes me rich? Is the God Almighty. Here's the key spiritual role model character that Abraham provides to Lot. Great. Let's yes. Can we do that as fathers, as parents? Is it not very overwhelming to do all these duties which a heavenly Father like Abraham did? Maybe I think there is a point in mentioning these in the Bible. Abraham doesn't have a son by himself yet. Probably God wanted to test Abraham whether you're good. How do you treat Lot? Then probably you're ready. Now I give you my promised child to you. Probably there is something which tells me that Abraham was tested in all of these things before he could get Isaac. Because in the following chapters, it says he changes his name, and then Sarah is promised a child. Are we prepared? Those of you who are yet to become fathers, may God provide you the strength before you get to the fatherhood. And those of us who already are fathers, let us look up to Abraham and see how much we can learn from this lesson. It is overwhelming, dear fathers. It is overwhelming to you. Let's look up to our Heavenly Father and look for one thing in this, the compassionate heart of the Father, the God. Here comes, let's go back a few hundred years to the Garden of Eden. Here comes our Heavenly Father who creates Adam and Eve in His own image. Just like how we do for our children, we create in our own image. God creates Adam and Eve. What does it take for us to be a father like Abraham? We have to provide a discipline. We have to set some rules, give some consequences if they don't follow the rule, and then follow through. Do we have the courage? Here's what the Heavenly Father does. Hey, Adam and Eve, everything is yours. You can go and eat everything except the fruit of knowledge. So what happens? He gives them clear instructions what to do and what is the exception. And then he also follows it up with the consequences. The day you eat, you will die. Then here comes the part which we most often ignore. We as the fathers are not the only influence for our kids. As soon as the father gets away, here comes the deceiver, the serpent. We fathers just ignore the fact that our sons and daughters and our children are bound to be encountered by the same deceiver wherever they go out of our presence. He says, did he say so? No, they fall and the father comes back, and here comes the curses that he says. To the serpent, you go on your belly, you eat dust, and you have enmity between you and the offspring. To the woman, he says, you will have a painful childbirth, your desire will be on the husband, and he will rule over you. And I think personally, the third curse has been reversed by Christ's death on the cross. The third curse which was given to the lady, he will rule over you. I think she rules over me. One of the achievements Christ did on the cross. Other things are still there. And to the man he says, you're going to die. Still death prevails. At least I think one of the curses has been reversed 2000 years ago. I don't know when. Now, the compassion of the Father. He follows through. He drives away. Even before he drives away, the compassion of the Father. The heart of the Father. Now they have committed sin. They have disobeyed. They have been deceived. They listened to somebody else. They did not listen to what the Father said. But then the compassionate heart kicks in, and he provides a trip to Macy's to get some leather clothes. Compassion heart of the Father. These are just an example of each of our earthly father and a heavenly Father. We have thousands of examples, as we say, there are thousands of reasons for the Heavenly Father where we know the heart of the Heavenly Father. What prevents us from imitating them? It is just the deception in the Garden of Eden. We saw four things: the material things, the social things, the intellectual things, and the spiritual things. We got so caught up in the material things that we fail to ignore or do justice in the growth of our children to take care of the other three things. That is the deception. Out of the 1,440 minutes, I just made this calculation, 24 by 60 minutes that we have, how much time do we spend with our children? We spend most of the times at work, and they say statistically 50% of us don't like the work, and the rest 50%, the company doesn't like you. You're there because you don't really think they cannot find a replacement. You're just an option. You're just an option. Whereas for your child, you are everything. You have to provide for all the four needs. But we get deceived just to provide that material want that we spend our entire lives working, getting money, and then we think that will take care and we don't perform the other duties. The social thing, your position, your power. You might be known by that. The child may enjoy saying that my dad is this or my dad is that, but still the social, the things that we actually do. Let me quote something which we said. Lying. Kids lie, and by the age of 5 they say they are matured in the art of lying. And when it was started, they say during the first birthday, when the parents force the kid to say, don't say you don't like those presents, especially those given by your grandparents. And then next here comes the phone call. Hey, say I'm not there in the house. Satan subtly puts in all the lies, and we think we are good, but we spoil the child. We cannot outsource certain things, and most importantly, our time with the kids. And then the spiritual needs. Do we have a family worship? Do we have a worship together? The society attacks in all of the three other devices, all of the three other dimensions. We have to be with the kids, we have to do things together, we have to spend as much time as we can with the kids in order to provide the emotional support, the courage, in order to transfer some legacy from us to the kids. For this we need three things. One, the ability to do it. Second, the intention to do it. And third, doing it. Most of us have the ability, and most of us have the intention, but Satan actually prevents from doing it, prevents us from doing our duties on these three dimensions to our kids. That is where I think we have to really be cautious and really set some rules, give the consequences, and then follow through with the punishment. On the social aspect, they say there is one thing which we can do so that our kids are socially mature. It is how we treat our wives. Kids look at them, and it's the same way that he will be treating his friends or he will be treating his siblings. Are you angry? Are you aggressive? Are you over demanding? What is it that is standing out when you deal with his mother? That stands out as the social thing. I'm not sure if we can do all of them without the help of God. Let us look to God to give us the strength to take care. I know we have to take care of all the four dimensions in which we can produce the next generation of fathers. Amen.
God, we give you thanks for this morning worship and for reminding us, oh God, that you have tenderly and graciously cared for us, compassionately called us again and again to your heart. And there is place for all of you in God's heart. And there is more. So God sends you from this place to wherever you need to go this week. And the one who has called you is faithful and will go with you. And to that God's care and keeping be committed. Now to him who is able to keep you from falling and to present before his Father blameless, to that amazing and great God, be blessing, glory, power throughout this generation, this day and forever.
Amen.
Amen.